Hi, it's Amy, and I'm back once again with the Journal of Emily Shore, published in 1891. And this is the journal of a teenage girl. And we are reading in the year 1832. And so here we are on August 7th, 1832. I again found the Nettle Caterpillar. It had several double rings, each composed of very minute golden spots, which, when seen in a certain light, sparkle like silver or drops of dew. The hairs, too, are silvery. These caterpillars are slow in their motions. August 15th, Wednesday. Besides this, we found a great curiosity which few people have had an opportunity of seeing. It was discovered by Mamma. The butcher bird is in the habit of killing insects and small birds and sticking them, sometimes alive, upon thorns. Now we found a poor humble bee stuck, living, on a thorn in a hedge, and as it is impossible this could be by accident, for the horn came quite through his body, we have every reason to conclude that the butcher bird put it there. As we were passing through a meadow, we saw a shepherd stand at a gate which led into a turnip field. He called to the sheep, and without any aid of any dog, they all came scampering from every part of the meadow, though it was a large one, till there was not one left. He then bade them pass into the turnip field. They obeyed, and this the shepherd said they did constantly. It was quite a singular instance of obedience in sheep. August 22nd. The morning was extremely rainy, but after dinner we all took a walk. We saw a poor miserable woman in a tent by the roadside. Her name is Richardson. She has a bad, drunken husband who has quite starved her, and now they cannot pay their rent. They have been turned out of their house. To add to her misery, she is very ill, having just given birth to a child, and the hard rain has quite poured through the slender covering of the tent. Mamma has been once or twice to see her, and has given her broth, etc. August 28th. In the evening, Papa began to read us Shakespeare's play of Julius Caesar, and finished it today. I like it extremely. It is very fine, and the characters remarkably well drawn. Brutus is my favorite. The scene I like best is where he and Cassius quarrel and are reconciled. I am very fond of Portia also, but not Julius Caesar nor Mark Antony. The day was so fine and hot that I sat out of doors, and I employed myself in carving a carrot into the shape of a man. October 14th, Sunday. In our walk today after dinner, we picked up a dead Norway rat, quite a young one. We at first thought it was a mouse, till Mamma set us right again. It was 4 inches long, and the tail 3 inches. The head was very large, it had no neck, the ears were broad and bare. The eyes are large and black, the whiskers numerous, the mouth placed much under the head. The feet are bare and flesh-colored. The 2 forefeet are destitute of a thumb. The rat is brown, the throat and under part of the body a grayish-white, the tail dark and thinly covered with hairs. October 17th, Wednesday. It is surprising how many hornets we have seen in the last day or two. I am sure there is a nest very near. We caught a very large one today, and extremely handsome. We tried to put it to death with oil, but it was above an hour before we succeeded, for I was the performer and did not know how much to apply. When Papa, however, came out from dinner, he put a great quantity, so as completely to saturate it, and soon it died. But I shall never forget the agonies it seemed to suffer. It made an awful sound, rolled over and over, went round and round the glass, and sometimes even stood on its head. It was more painful to bear than even my poor caterpillars. We should have set it at liberty, but that it was so dangerous a creature that we could not do it safely. I have got it now in my collection. November 8th, Thursday. It was now settled that we are to do what we have long had in contemplation, viz., to remove to Woodbury, a good house near Everton. The reason is that we find Potton agrees very ill with our health, while Woodbury is remarkably healthy and is situated on the celebrated Gamingley Heath. November 10th, Saturday. Mr. Howard is indeed the most agreeable pupil Papa has ever had. He is exceedingly amiable and good-tempered. And here we have a note down below. It was a peculiarity of the writer when a child always to use the word good-tempered for good-natured. So This pupil should be amiable and good-natured rather than good-tempered. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure I quite understand much of a distinction between these two terms from a modern day perspective. But continuing on, and he is constantly with us in the drawing room. Papa is very fond of him. He says that he does not suppose that in any company he would ever be caught assenting to what he did not feel, for he is remarkably open and candid. And Mamma once said, which I dare say is very true, that he has a great deal of fine feeling. He is very intelligent and has a good deal of information. In short, he is a particular favourite with all of us. To conclude, he has a fine and expressive countenance. November 13th, Tuesday. This evening I read Spenser's poem called Mother Hubbard's Tale, a very long one. It is evidently a satire on the court and clergy, and a very bitter one too. And in brackets, then follows 3 pages of extracts from the above-named poem, very accurately done. December 14th, Friday. There is going to be a sale on Mr. Wilkinson's furniture at Woodbury, and Papa went to attend at it. When he returned, he told us a story of what had happened. He rode on horseback, and on his way heard the foxhounds for some time. He knew that they were to throw off that day, and hoped he should not get in their way. However, he arrived safe at Woodbury. The auctioneer, Mr. Carrington, was at his work, when a cry was heard of, "There they are! Behold, the whole set of hounds pursuing the fox, dashed through the garden, over the beds and everything." Papa was, of course, not highly delighted, but everyone else was in ecstasies. The ladies jumped up and clapped their hands. Mr. C. blew a horn, which he had in his pocket or somewhere, and leaped out of the window into the garden with all the ragamuffins after him. Papa, finding it in vain to try and stop them, walked out with Mr. Wilkinson to see if he could not hinder them from doing damage. Mr. W. ordered the door of the courtyard to be opened, that the fox might pass through, but unluckily there was no one to open it, and he was obliged to turn back, the dogs quite close to him all the way, and even brushing by Papa. The animal made the greatest exertions, but could only reach the greenhouse, and there the hounds killed the poor foxy. He was quite unhappy, and with his tail between his legs. Just then the hunters came up. They had taken care to dismount, all except 2 most ungentlemanly fellows, who leaped over the hawser, cutting up the turf sadly. The fox was now handed about to be seen, the hounds surrounding the hunters, and the great delight was shown by all. But Papa pitied the poor creature, and several times expressed his indignation, not against the intrusion into the garden, for that he could have borne with perfect good temper in the pursuit of any rational amusement, but against the general barbarity and cruelty of fox hunters, whom he detests. He says that he never before saw a fox so closely pursued. Even after the body was taken away, the place smelled quite offensively. December 19th, Wednesday. The going to Woodbury both costs me something and has given me something. In the first place, 2 of my stuffed birds are thrown away before they breed the moth. Why this was not discovered before, I cannot tell. My pasteboard stem packet is burnt, to my great grief, and my 2 chalk figures are also destroyed. However, Papa and Mamma, to console me for the loss of my steam packet, which cost me 13 pennies, very kindly indeed gave me 6 pence apiece, and Papa offered me a shilling for every stuffed bird I should throw away, but I would not for a guinea. I asked Papa about colleges, and Papa perceived from my question that I understood but little about it, kindly undertook to explain it to me. He first told me what a corporation was, 1 person, for it may be one, and it is then called a sole corporation or a united body. He gave me an instance. Mr. Whittingham, vicar of Potton, constitutes one. He possesses certain emoluments and certain endowments, but not as R.W., but as a vicar. As for a corporation of several people, it is formed by a charter from the king. All the members act together, have a common seal, and make laws themselves, provided they are not in contradiction to the laws of the land. If they buy an estate, the deeds are signed by any they shall depute, and the common seal is put to it. A college is a sort of corporation. Some colleges have been endowed as much as 800 years ago, but whoever endowed them left for their support the revenues of certain estates, which thenceforth belonged to the college, and decided the number of people to compose it. Perhaps a master or warden, or whatever he may be called, and 18 or 20 fellows, some of whom act as tutors. All these govern amongst themselves and make laws with the head or master as supreme, but not despotic. Besides these, a number of young men as students are admitted to receive instruction, but they are quite independent and have nothing whatever to do with the government of the college. The university itself is a much more complex affair. As each college is in itself a corporation governed by its own laws, so all the colleges together form another grand corporation, which makes its own laws, has common revenues, and whose members occasionally meet to deliberate in Cambridge at a senate, and at Oxford in convocation. The university is represented in Parliament, each by 2 members which are chosen among them, not for one college or another, but for the whole university. When a student has been 3 years in college, he is examined, and if he is found sufficiently advanced, he has his first degree conferred on him, Bachelor of Arts. But this is not by his own college, but by the whole university. In 3 years, more commonly without examination, he is made Master of Arts, and on becoming B.A., he may be elected Fellow and join in the government of the college. On marrying, though, he still retains his degree and may vote for the member to represent the university. He loses all influence in the government, as in the case of Papa. The university is governed by a nominal chancellor, but all acting power is in the vice-chancellor, who resides always at the place. The chancellor is commonly a nobleman. The chancellor of Oxford University is now Lord Grenville, that of Cambridge, the Duke of Gloucester. He's a very silly man. Papa told us that one day, as he was riding out, he complained that the flies would get into his mouth, and he could not keep them out. The servant answered, "Perhaps your Royal Highness had better shut your mouth." But he was in the habit of riding with the mouth wide open. Another time he bid his servant fetch his handkerchief from his room, but hesitated and said, "I am pretty sure I locked the door, but I can't remember whether I left the key on the inside." These anecdotes made us laugh heartily. On December 23rd, Sunday. The little girl whom I teach has been here every day for the last week, and came this evening for the last time, as I am going tomorrow, and she is too young to go as far as Woodbury. Perhaps, however, as summer comes on, and she is a little older, she may now and then walk over to Woodbury, for it is a pity that, when she seems to be getting on, I should give her up altogether. In the meantime, I have thoughts of having a few little girls from Everton, if Mamma and Papa approve of it, which I believe they do. Every evening of Sunday, after tea, Mamma hears us say a hymn of Watts, which we have previously learned, each saying 1 verse. After this, we say some parts of the Catechism, Mamma commenting as we go on the simplest manner. I believe none of us are taught anything which is not thoroughly explained, and I am afraid this is too unusual. There is another very common practice not followed with us, that of sending children very early to church. I think that before the age of 8 they can rarely understand the liturgy. Yet they seem to be supposed to comprehend it even at 3 or 4. If children are taught hymns and prayers before they can perceive anything of their meaning, it is likely to produce a superstitious idea that they are to derive good from what they say, and will thereby please God, as the Roman Catholics do with their Latin prayers. But this is not my own idea. I learnt it from Whately, and must not pass it off as original. December 24th, Monday. This was the day we moved to our new house. There was the most indescribable bustle and confusion. Everything went, except a table and a few chairs in the drawing room, that we might have our dinner. I was even obliged to part with my beloved desk, and had then nothing left to do except now and then to play at cup and ball. December 25th, Tuesday. This is my birthday. I am 13 years old. When I came down into the library as soon as I was up and dressed, Papa and Mamma gave me a birthday present, a beautiful and most interesting book, Babbage's Economy of Manufactures, which I have long wished for. It is a new edition with corrections and improvements. December 27th, Thursday. Today's newspaper announces that Antwerp has capitulated to the French, who are besieging it in behalf of the Belgians, and to whom they are to give it up to. The commander of the fortress was General Chase. The account of the elections was very entertaining. I read it as usual to the children. It always happens that the Reform candidates are cheered and applauded, while the Tories are hissed and assailed with groans. The Tories have been behaving most shamefully, bribing and threatening the electors to the utmost degree, but they are generally unsuccessful. December 28th, Friday. After breakfast, when we were all sitting together in the library, the conversation turned on the late capitulation of the citadel of Antwerp. Papa made some promiscuous remarks on the war, of which I will put down what I remember. The free navigation of the Scheldt has always been a great object with the other powers. The Dutch have as strenuously opposed it, but it is a free gift of nature and ought to belong equally to all the countries through which it runs. The King of Holland is a thoroughly money-making merchant. He himself trades, he monopolizes at the expense of his subjects. December 30th, Sunday. Papa said also that during the war, when the farmers were rich and flourishing, and were amassing thousands upon thousands, they showed the most brutal indifference to the poor who were perishing around them. But that now their turn came, they were getting poorer and poorer, their rents were not paid, and they were eaten up with the poor rates. And that brings us to the end of chapter 2. And next time, we will be embarking on the year 1833. And chapter 3 includes January to May of 1833, where they are established at Woodbury.